So with that said, I'll kind of go through the sounds you just heard here. This is like pretty much one of my favorite electric piano sounds inside the machine, and it's called Vintage Case. There's also another one. The solo I did was hard vintage because I like how it pops out. But you know, and there's a lot of things with controllers that I can sometimes. This one is doing a little bit of a pan effect, an Ottawa, a Canadian effect. Ottawa. Sorry, I just did a trade show in Canada, and it's very interesting, the little differences, like the fact that, see that thing, you know that thing I'm plugging into down there, that beige thing that has multiple outlets? What's that called? It's called a power strip. Not if you go to Canada, it's called a power bar. And we eat those here. So anyway, so there's the Vintage Case. The other sound in here, which I really like, is this, something else you should point out about this sound, and I'll kind of talk about this more, is that the Motif XS is built on a completely different type of tone generator. It uses sample playback, which the vast majority of things in here do, where it uses high quality samples of different instruments. This one has the benefit of having the most in there. And when you have the most samples, generally that means that some of the sounds that require a lot of data, like a stereo piano, we have a lot of wave ROM in here, or just memory in here, to have a really nice recording of that. But we also have another thing that's called expanded articulation, and what that is, it's each one of these sounds use certain parts of it are sampled differently, and there's behavior that's actually sampled into this guy. So like up here, I've got things like that, behavior. In fact, the beginning of this tune starts out with, I think, you just hear that at the very beginning. I'll solo that track so you can hear the bass. So little things like that, behavior. But we go a step further than just having that kind of stuff. We have things that are called kiosk samples, for one thing. So listen to when I pull my finger off this note. Hear the last, when I pull my finger off, you hear a, which if a bass player was up here touching that bass and played a note, they would hear the bass player pull their finger off of the fretboard. That little addition is really what it's all about as far as musicality, and it makes the bass sound better inside the mix. So if I just go through here and turn this down, and I'll take out but just the bass and the. Hear a little bit of kiosk. And I'm trying to play like a bass player. One thing that I tell bass players all the time that are kind of okay is that you need to connect your notes more. Good bass players connect their notes, and but still I want to hear a little bit of that attack when it pulls off, because it's part of the groove. So it's in there, definitely. The other thing that's cool about this sound, outside of the kiosk sample, is picking position. When I go to the solo part of this tune, you can actually record all of these little things into the sequencer. So there's two buttons here that are called assignable function buttons. So when I hit these guys, they change the picking position, where the player is actually playing on the bass. So on a bass like this guy, if you play closer to the neck, there's a different sound than if you play in the middle, right between those two pickups, and all the way to the back. And whether or not your pickup is switched just to the rear pickup or the front pickup or both pickups. So a bass player like Jaco Pastorius is a kind of a famous kind of sound that he got out of the bass. And he got that a lot of time when he was really digging in by pulling his hand to the rear of the bass. So right now, I'm mid position. Okay, now I'm going to switch it to the rear, or more moving to the front pickup for a little warmer sound. As opposed to middle. Right? And now, if I move it all the way to the back, now I've got this Jaco sound. So when I get to the bass solo that I played in there, it automatically, because I recorded it in there, switches to that back pickup, because I wanted it to kind of dig a little bit more. As opposed to So just a different sound, but that's part of what, I'm going to go on about this expanded articulation, because a lot of the sounds that need it, things like pianos, electric pianos, guitars, and basses that have actual key-offs that are part of the sound, those are in here. So anyway, so I'll move on. The guitar, obviously, that I was playing here. This one's an edited guitar. I like John Scofield a lot, and so it's actually a jazz guitar, but I wanted it to have a little bit of so when I play soft, you can still hear the chords. If I had too much, it would be like... Oh yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, there's a book come with this that tells you about each
Oh boy, we have
kiosk and...
the manual, but for people that don't like to read manuals, I always recommend not reading manuals all the way through. If you want to go to sleep at night, it's a good thing if you can't sleep. But we have a video that's inside the Motif XS. It's about 3 hours of hands on top of the Motif XS going through the entire, and you can stop it, you can rewind it. So there's a DVD that we have. And then we also have I think, in fact, it is by far the best keyboard website in the industry at motivator.com, motifator.com. Motivator.com is a forum-based site, but it has a lot of other things, power user articles. There's like probably 30 different inside the Motif XS talking just about the VCM effects, which is one of the effects that you're hearing here, of virtual circuit modeling effects and how those work. There's one that's written in there that explains how a compressor works, that because we have vintage compressors in here. So tons of stuff, tons of information. A lot of it's written in fairly plain English and quick guides and stuff. And then the forum base, where if you have a question, you go up to the forum, you say, I have a question about this, and you will get an answer usually within 10 minutes. Because not only end users, in fact, there's an end user in Beaverton, Oregon that has over 15,000 posts. He works for Intel, actually, and he just does it because he loves the instrument. He's up there. There's a guy whose handle is Bad Mister, who is one of my mentors, a guy named Phil Clendenin, who's a senior product marketing specialist for Yamaha. Phil has, I think, about 18,000 posts. And then there's Yamaha US, which is the marketing manager, Alan Bilius, another person. He has, I think, over 10,000 posts. It's very well monitored, and it's a great website. So there's lots of resources to get into this keyboard to learn it than just the manual. So, and then I'll fly to your house. No, I will if it means coming out here again. So, because I live in Bellingham, Washington. Ever been to Washington? Ever been to North Washington? You know what it looks like now? It's gray. Very gray. You had another question? Is that good? I answered? Okay. So there's that sound. So I have the trumpet in there because it was part of the horn section, but since it's in there, it's very articulated, tongued sound. The saxophone. Another tongue sound, but this one actually goes into altissimo range, which is outside of the instrument, so you can hear where it changes at that break. And then the solo. And I love our Rhodes because, again, there's a key off. You can hear it in a little bit. It's not, you don't want the key off to jump out at you, but you hear at the end of it. And it's a key off from a Rhodes. It's not some key off sample that's just, each key off is specific to the instruments. And this one also really barks in the low end, so, So that's the one I used for the actual solo in it, because I like the cutting sound of a really nicely Rhodes.